Today, we're diving deep into the story of Third Wave Coffee Roasters. They're a homegrown brand, and they've taken on this massive, almost crazy challenge of completely redefining India's coffee culture. So, right off the bat, here is the big question, the one that shapes their entire strategy. You have to remember, in India, tea is absolute king. We're talking a staggering 80% of the hot beverage market. So, launching a specialty coffee chain, that's not just about selling a product. No, it's about trying to fundamentally change daily habits, one cup at a time. It's a really bold, really tough uphill battle. And it's a battle that some very serious investors are betting on, and betting heavily. With $66 million in funding, Third Wave has the cash to make a real run for the throne. You see a number like that and you know immediately the stakes are incredibly high, and you can bet the expectations are even higher. So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to start with who they are, then we'll break down their core strategy, take a look at their business model, size up the competition, and finally, we'll explore what the future might just hold for them. Okay, let's meet our contender. Founded way back in 2016, Third Wave Coffee Roasters came onto the scene with a super clear mission: to bring artisanal, farm-to-cup coffee to a whole new generation of Indian consumers. And their name? Well, it's not just a name, it's their entire philosophy. See, they're part of this global movement that treats coffee not like some bulk commodity, but like a craft, like fine wine. And a huge part of this is their focus on single-origin Indian beans, mostly from these beautiful estates in Karnataka. It's all about celebrating local quality on a global stage. So how does that philosophy actually translate into a strategy? Well, here's the thing. They're not just throwing money at big ad campaigns. Instead, they've built their brand on something way more powerful. They're creating a genuine culture. Their whole approach really rests on these three pillars. It starts by teaching you about the coffee. Then it makes you feel like you belong. And finally, it tells you a story that you actually want to be a part of. Let's break each one down. The first pillar is all about education, but in a really cool, hands-on way. They've turned their cafes into these inviting coffee labs. I mean, you can literally see the gleaming Diedrich roasters in action, you can sign up for free workshops, and you can learn about different brewing techniques. The whole goal is to take the intimidation out of specialty coffee and turn that simple curiosity into real, lasting loyalty. Next up, community. And for them, this is not just some marketing buzzword. In India's super busy cities, they're tapping into this deep need for third places, spaces that aren't home and aren't work, but somewhere you can connect. They use things like gamified loyalty programs and referrals to create this awesome word-of-mouth snowball effect. They work with local artists, they encourage user-generated content. It makes customers feel like they're the heroes of the brand story. It feels less like you're buying something and more like you're joining a club. And that brings us to their third pillar, storytelling. This simple phrase, Indian roots, global craft, it just captures their entire ethos perfectly. They tell these really compelling stories about ethical sourcing, their direct relationships with farmers, and the pride of showcasing India's best beans. It's a narrative of accessible, kind of quiet luxury that really resonates with their aspirational target audience. Okay, so they've built the culture, they've built the community. But how do you turn that into a business that can actually scale? Let's look at how they're moving from just running cafes into becoming a full-on commerce machine. They've adopted this really powerful omni-channel model. So beyond their 195 plus physical cafes, they have a direct-to-consumer business through their app. They do B2B supplies for offices, and they have a huge presence on quick commerce platforms like Swiggy and Zomato. The strategy is simple, but honestly, it's brilliant. Be everywhere your customer is. Make it incredibly convenient to get their coffee fix anytime, anywhere. And is this strategy working? Oh yeah. Just look at this revenue growth. A staggering 67% jump year over year from 144 crore rupees, that's about 17 million US dollars, all the way up to 241 crore. This is exactly the kind of explosive growth that gets investors very excited. But it's not the whole story. Because on the flip side of that coin, their losses have also doubled, hitting 110 crore rupees, which is around $13 million. This right here, this is the classic high-growth dilemma. Rapid expansion is incredibly expensive, and every single new cafe just adds to the burn rate. Growth at all costs, well, it comes with a seriously hefty price tag. So this brings us to the battlefield. Because Third Wave isn't growing in a vacuum. Nope, they are fighting for dominance in an increasingly crowded and very competitive market. So here's how the key players stack up. On one side, you've got the global giant Starbucks, which sells not just coffee, but an international status symbol. On the other side, there's Blue Tokai, the respected pioneer of Indian specialty coffee. They're already profitable, and they have immense credibility. And Third Wave, they've cleverly positioned themselves right in the middle as the affordable artisanal choice for those aspirational urban consumers who want real quality but maybe without that top-tier premium price tag. At the end of the day, it all comes down to this. Profitability is their biggest hurdle. The super high costs for prime real estate and skilled employees make up a huge chunk, 27% of their total expenses. This is the core challenge they absolutely have to solve if they want to win the coffee war. So, what's the plan? How does Third Wave navigate these pretty serious challenges and brew a sustainable future? Let's take a look at their playbook for the path ahead. They're making some very smart strategic moves. First, they've brought in a new CEO, Rajat Luthra, who has deep experience in scaling food retail from his time at KFC. Smart. They've also opened a new roastery, which immediately cuts their outsourcing costs by 10%. They're expanding into smaller Tier 2 cities where operational costs are lower, and they're pushing their packaged goods way harder through quick commerce. It's a multi-pronged attack on their bottom line, and the big goal is to hit profitability by 2026. And that leaves us with this final, really critical question. Third Wave has built an absolutely incredible brand by focusing on community and culture. But is that model truly sustainable when you're up against the relentless pressure of high-cost expansion? Or will the very things that made them special in the first place get lost or diluted in the race to scale? That is the billion-rupee question they are trying to answer right now.